The Russian-American meeting in Alaska is happening. I believe it's supposed to start in the next few hours. I believe Lavrov, the foreign, I'm not sure what they call it, the foreign secretary type of sort of position, Sergei Lavrov has already arrived. I haven't seen if we have anything, if Putin has arrived, but he is coming as well to this meeting, meaning this is the first time he has been in America for, I think, over a decade. And I think the last meeting he had with American president was with former President Biden before the invasion before the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So this is a big deal, and a lot of things will be talked about, and we'll talk about, and of course, it's already one of the stories is already going a little bit viral, as you can see on the thumbnail. So this is something we will talk about because I think it very much encapsulates the way Russia is feeling about the Western powers and how much Russia thinks it can get away with. Welcome to the Daily Objective. Today's topic will be, as I've said, the meeting in Alaska. So, I mean, yeah, let's start with the first part, and I have a video, so we'll show that. Let me just, I think it's this one.
Сергей Викторович, а вы первый раз на Аляске? Для известия скажите, пожалуйста. Первый?
Бывал, я тут уже.
Вам нравится?
So this was Sergei Lavrov, and it cannot be seen as well. But what he is wearing is a Soviet Union shirt. It says CCCP, which is the Russian way of spelling USSR, since they use a different alphabet. And I mean, again, this is the type of stuff that Russia think they can get away with. Because they know nobody will make that big of a deal about it, and they know they are basically sort of just sending a message to their own people that, look, we have enough upper hand, we can come in with a Soviet Union shirt and we'll be able to get away with. Now, you might think that what is the big deal, really? It's just a shirt. But the fact is that Putin specifically has been talking about restoring the Soviet Union, or at least sort of more of a Soviet Union empire, more of a Soviet Union empire thing, meaning basically recovering or at least having influence over its former subjects almost. So the fact that somebody like Lavrov would come in with a shirt again is speaking about that kind of basically is hinting towards it, right? Especially since what we are talking about now is the invasion of Ukraine, and Ukraine and sort of Russia getting Ukraine back is one of the biggest parts when it comes to sort of like restoring Soviet Union. So yeah, the fact that he can do something like that and most likely nothing will come out of it is ridiculous. I mean, of course, the principles always stay the same. We shouldn't negotiate with the Russian state. We shouldn't invite them to the US, and none of those things should happen. Russia invaded a sovereign nation without any sort of justification. They should not be able to get away with. And we'll talk about what the outcome of this conference might be and the way Trump is trying to play this. But yeah, the main principle stays the same. This shouldn't happen. No matter what happens, this is a victory for Russia on the world stage. I absolutely. I mean, again, dictatorship benefits when the West compromises, when we go and negotiate with them. Again, this is like negotiating with murderers. They've invaded a country and now they are trying to keep some of it. So yeah, this is again, them doing something like this shows that Russia thinks they have upper hand, and in many ways they do. It reminded me of an old video, but I wasn't able to confirm it is true, so it might not be. But some people might have seen it. It was like Putin was supposed to have meeting with Witkov, but he was basically just joking. At the same time, he was like on the stage and just joking about that he doesn't have anywhere to hurry. I wasn't able to confirm if it's true, so put that sort of aside. But even the whole fact that we are sort of like coming after Putin to negotiate, we are the ones who are trying to sort of like push for a peace. That already puts us in a worse position. Somebody says maybe Lavrov was symbolizing the Russian collapse, same as Soviet Union with his shirt. As much as I would wish for something like that, I don't think this is what he is doing. Again, somebody like Sergei Lavrov is a very experienced negotiator, very experienced sort of not sure if necessarily diplomat, but he knows how to play this game. Uh, yeah, as I mentioned, sort of Putin is always apping up sort of like the glory of the USSR and sort of re-establishing it, and the fact that it comes in the context of negotiations is should definitely not happen. Now, Trump has recently stated that his tariffs on India prompted Russia to seek talks with the US. I'm not sure if we talked about it, you might have missed it, but basically, I think America or Trump put tariffs on, I think it was specifically just oil coming out of India. The reasoning was that since India is trading with Russia, that this way it's like another sanction. While it might be a tariff on India, it's sort of like a sanction on Russia. And he said uh, this might have prompted Putin to negotiate. Now, if this is true or not, either way, I think Russia should absolutely be sanctioned, and we should push against the Russian state. But yeah, I'm not sure if the goal should be to get them to the negotiating table. We have a super chat from Bonnie. Thank you so much. Um, so, yeah, I mean, just to give a little bit of context of what is the situation right now in Ukraine. So, Russia is currently occupying about 19% of Ukrainian land, including Crimea, if we count that as well, that they've invaded back in 2014. Trump has said Russia occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They occupied prime territory. We're going to try to get some of the territory back for Ukraine. Again, I don't think that can be enough. Now, I understand that I don't think you can negotiate all of Ukrainian land back. I think the only way to do so is to fight it. So, um, Break yourself in the chest says, I think they made a mistake with India, though. They could have made India a good deal to get them on our side instead of tariffs, making them pull further from the US. Trump sucks at deals, I guess. I mean, I haven't followed it that closely, but yeah, whenever, especially a country like India that is playing sort of all sides, they are probably one of the most pragmatic nations as of right now. So I think if you sort of like offer them some sort of a good deal, you'll probably be able to get them on your side. So yeah, maybe not the best way to go about it. James says many Ukrainians have died. If they take a deal, I can't blame them for it. It's a hard choice either way. I mean, yeah, when it comes to sort of, I think as long as Ukrainians are willing to fight, we should support their fight. If it is true that they are, and we'll talk about sort of what Ukraine hopes to have. But if Ukrainians decide that they cannot fight this war any longer, and I wouldn't be surprised if it does eventually happen, because this has been a costly war for Ukraine. Um, and especially with uh, land like Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk, Ukraine to large extent wasn't able to control it since 2014. Yeah, I would understand if they would be okay with giving that up, but we shouldn't be the one offering it to Russia. It's if Ukraine wants to do this, I could understand. I think it would still be appeasing evil. And I think it's a more of a failure of the Western nations to not be able to support Ukraine, not only from the start, but back in 2014. Already we have been appeasing. We had a chance to prepare for sanctions for Russia if the invasion would actually happen, which it will. And we didn't do anything. I think similar thing might happen with China. The fact is that China will invade Taiwan, and we are kind of trying to ignore it. Now, Trump has also stated that if Russia doesn't agree to peace, now, when we talk about peace, I think the only thing that will be talked about on this conference is a ceasefire and some potential path towards peace. But he said if there is no peace, there would be very severe consequences for Russia. There should be severe consequences for Russia anyway, but I'll take this threat. Let's hope it's not empty. Now, as I've said, the meeting will happen in several hours, so we might cover it again in the upcoming days, depending on what happens. But here are sort of like the basic Russian demands, as I understand it, or sort of have been like from the past. And it's, of course, that Ukraine drops their ambition to join NATO, and also that country should demilitarize to some extent, or basically make their military smaller. Now, if this is, and this does seem like sort of a breaking point for Russia, that if this is not agreed to, they won't agree to anything. And I think this is already basically you cannot negotiate that. The fact is that Russia wants to take control of all of Ukraine, as they expected would happen in 2022 when they originally invaded. They thought they would just march in and basically take over all of it. So Ukraine dropping its ambitions to join NATO is basically just giving them another opportunity in the future to do this again, especially since now Russia knows that they can invade a nation and they will be able to get away with. They will be able to negotiate their way out of it and keep parts of it. Of course, parts of it would have to be that the Western nations would relax their sanctions. And that they would get to keep the territory. Now, most likely it would include keeping Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk, since all of those have been formally annexed by Russia. So they would definitely want to keep those. And they would most likely want to keep also, I think it's Kherson and Zaporizhia, which are the sort of like north of Crimea, those sort of like southern parts of Ukraine. So this is what they would want, which again is almost 20% of Ukrainian land that Russia simply demands. And I think they would probably just commit to pulling out of some smaller regions they are controlling. But yeah, I mean, this would be ridiculous because Russia is basically getting everything they want. They get to keep the territory they conquered, like they did back with Crimea. They get, and it would sort of even get more recognized, right? Like if you get to keep Crimea after a war, well, you basically get to keep it forever, no matter what anybody says. And it would get sort of like an official recognition. And that Ukraine wouldn't join NATO or anything in that regard. Again, this would be an absolute loss for Ukraine. I don't know what you would even. You are not getting absolutely anything, any guarantee, any positive future out of this. So I think if Ukraine now Zelensky isn't part of this meeting, but if he was, I think any of those demands would absolutely be crazy. I don't think you could accept them and hope for some better future for Ukraine or safe future for Ukraine. Now, when it comes to Ukraine, I think their demands was one, for the US to not agree to any territorial deals without Ukraine being present. So hopefully we won't see anything like that in this. They want a security guarantee, including potential, which would be some sort of guarantee of non-invasion of Russia. So that could include sort of potentially joining NATO, but any other guarantee, which again is absolutely understandable. I think any country or almost any country around Russia would prefer some security guarantee, especially with the amount of Soviet Union revisionism Putin is trying to do. And also Zelensky, of course, reiterated calls that Ukraine should be allowed to join NATO if a ceasefire is reached, and that sanctions should be strengthened if Russia fails to agree on some sort of a peace deal. Now, this is, again, understandable. We'll see if some sort of a ceasefire will happen. But yeah, again, NATO is a voluntary defensive alliance. Anybody who wants to join, and that all countries inside agree that should be able to join, should be allowed in. This is how it happened in the past. NATO is not an offensive alliance, and even when countries agree to do something, again, even if there wasn't any NATO, it's not like those actions wouldn't happen. So yeah, it's mainly a defensive alliance and hasn't been used as a again, we haven't attacked Russia thing ever in the recent past. So PB in the chat says, I'm in Alaska and can see Russia from my house. That's clearly why they're meeting there. Yeah, I've read a little bit about sort of like the symbolism. It's kind of weird that it is happening in Russia. I think one line I've seen is that Putin can sort of come in and look, Alaska used to be owned by Russia and it's now owned by the US. So territories can change hands. Now, I believe the specific military base they are meeting at was in the past used as some sort of a defensive force against, or was built up as some sort of a defensive force against Russia or Soviet Union during Cold War. So there is also that kind of symbolism. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't think Russian president has ever been in Alaska, so it's definitely an interesting place to see. Enric has assessed the art of appeasing tyrants. I mean, again, this is yeah, this is what it is. Uh, Unfortunately, this is the way Western leaders are thinking right now, that only if we can appease these dictators, only if we can give them something, maybe they'll stop going further. But of course, this is not the case. They will use any sort of compromise to use it against us. Again, even if Russia, which I'm a bit skeptical about, but even if Russia does commit to some sort of a ceasefire, it would only be so they can invade again in the future. The only way to stop Russia from attacking Ukraine is if Ukraine is part of Russia, which is what they want, or if Ukraine has a guarantee that they won't be able to get away with it. James said Ukraine made mistakes of its own in the last few years and failing to take Russia seriously, and rampant corruption part of the blame, and all of the consequences fall on them. Again, this is sort of like victim blaming. Like, yeah, absolutely. Ukraine like has problems, but that doesn't give you reasons to invade that country. Again, that would give justification to invade any country that you would want just because they have problems. Unusual AI says ceasefire would only reward Russia to rearm. In Russia, the big players very divided. Riots increase. Incoming attacks make long-term damage to them. Yeah, I mean, something I've been calling for is Ukraine should absolutely strike within Russian territory. It should strike inside of Moscow. It should let the civilians know that, no, you cannot be apolitical. This is your war. This is a war waged by your government. And if you don't do anything about it, you will suffer the consequences of it. And of course, Russia will crack down on those, but there's only so much things you can crack down upon. So yeah, I think the fact that Ukraine was sort of disallowed from attacking inside of Russia is problematic, but I think Ukraine should absolutely do so. So Russia signed security guarantees agreements for Ukraine. You mean right now or in the past? Because in the past you could say there were some, but yeah, I'm not sure what you're referring to. But the meeting is happening in the few hours, so we'll talk about it. We might talk about it tomorrow based on what happens and based on what the other news is. But for now, this is from me. We will be continuing on the reality show in just about 7 minutes or so. So make sure to join us there. I'm putting the link in the chat and see you in a few minutes and bye bye.